Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. To those of you listening from the United States, welcome back after a long holiday weekend. For those of you elsewhere in the world, happy Tuesday. My name is Jonathan Yakasha from Tech Connect Ventures. I will be your host and moderator today. We are here to talk about the LG NOVA Proto Challenge. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us today. First off, let's introduce our speakers. We've got some great ones for you today. Starting off with the team from LG. First off, we have Ali Diallo, LG NOVA Center Entrepreneur in Residence. We also have Limor Schafman, the LG NOVA Center Director for Strategy and Operations. From the Tech Connect Ventures side of things, we were originally going to have Nick Cassandi, Executive Director. Unfortunately, Hurricane Elsa had other plans for Nick, and unfortunately, he will not be able to join us today. That fellow on the right-hand side there is me. I, as I said, am the Senior Program Manager for Challenges and Crowdsourcing, so I'll be presenting Nick's information today. All right, so now that you all know who we are, let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. To begin with, we have a video greeting from Sokwoo Rhee, Senior Vice President for LG Electronics and head of the LG NOVA Center. After we hear Sokwoo's greeting, we'll turn it over to the team from LG. They'll tell us about LG, LG NOVA, and the details of this challenge, including how you participate. Roughly halfway through the webinar, we'll start answering your questions. With that in mind, at any point during today's webinar, please feel free to use the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen, or at least it's on the right-hand side of my screen, to submit your questions. This is a fantastic opportunity for you to ask questions related to this challenge, to the LG team, to myself. We're here to answer your questions that you might have about this challenge. One way or another, we will get you the information you're looking for. If you ask a question and we unfortunately run out of time during today's broadcast to answer your questions, don't worry. All of the questions that are asked during today's webinar will be included in a Q&A document that will be posted to the challenge page as soon as possible following the webinar. At the end of today's webinar, I'll wrap up things with a couple quick reminders about the challenge, including the submission deadline. With that, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide, and we're going to hear the introductory introductory greeting, I should say, from Sokwoo Rhee.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sokwoo Rhee. I'm a Corporate Senior Vice President at LG Electronics, and I lead the North American Innovation Center, which is called LG NOVA Center. LG Electronics is best known for its appliances, its TVs, and all kinds of electronics. We are a big brand covering the global and world, the markets and everywhere. Now, we are also interested in creating the future. And that's why LG Electronics created North American Innovation Center, LG NOVA Center, this year. And I'm in charge of creating the new innovation and the future of LG Electronics. Now, innovation can be created in many different ways. You can innovate yourself, or innovation can happen sometimes naturally without putting a lot of effort. But from my perspective, the best innovation always happens when you collaborate with a lot of other folks. And now that's why we created this philosophy of outside-in innovation, and that's our point, and that's our important principle to lead our LG NOVA Center. Now, what I mean by outside innovation is pretty simple, but it is not easy to implement. So you want to work with everybody else to create new innovation together. But at the same time, practically speaking, implementing the collaboration to create innovation together is not easy. So that's why LG NOVA Center created a program called LG NOVA Proto Challenge. And the Pro Challenge is designed to bring in ideas and the technologies and the businesses from startups and from other companies and from other innovators outside of LG Electronics, and combine it with LG Electronics capabilities, such as the brand, such as the technology, and such as the distribution channel. And in addition to that, LG can provide a lot of other capabilities that can help small businesses and startups. And we can create a new business, we can create new innovation together, and we can grow the innovation together. Now, LG NOVA LG NOVA Center's Proto Challenge is unique in a sense that we are not just selecting the best of the best. We are selecting the best companies that can work with LG Electronics to create the new businesses, and with also focus on accessibility, focus on sustainability, and also focus on usability of the projects, products, and the services that we're going to co-create. Now, to do it, obviously, LG Electronics cannot do it ourselves. We need to work with all of you. This is where you guys come in, all of you come in, and to work with us. So this is a call for action. Please join us in the LG NOVA Proto Challenge so that we can jointly open up the opportunities to create a new future and to improve the quality of life of everybody in the world. So please join us, and we are open to work with you.
I'm going to turn it over to the team from LG to talk about LG and the NOVA Proto Challenge. Limor, Ali?
We're very excited to be here with you because we are launching this Proto Challenge, and it's all about extending innovation for LG. We are the North American Innovation Center. We're based in Santa Clara, California. We are called the NOVA, the LG NOVA Center specifically, and we're all about being the tip of the spear for North America and for LG in North America and also globally for innovation and bringing innovation in. And so what we're doing here with this Proto Challenge, it is a bit of a pre-challenge for what is going to be coming. We're going to be continuing this process of having these challenges to bring in innovation for LG. And you see here that what we're focusing on is really extending that brand of catalyzing innovation for a better life. So LG is known for life is good, and we're here to bring in a number of other additional themes around sustainability and social impact, together with innovation and technology and smart business to really move the needle on what is possible for exponential change as well as good for business, and building new businesses with LG. And so we invite you to do that, and we're going to go over the next few slides. In the next hour, we're going to be here with you to discuss what we're doing and why we're doing it. And those are my opening remarks. Ali, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, except that we're really excited for this opportunity, and the whole process is really an outside-in innovation. So it's based on a collaboration with the startups, with the different corporates, with applicants, and there is an opportunity here to go beyond just your typical challenge by not only receiving award money, but at the same time creating a new business with LG. So we were trying to go beyond just your typical challenge, and you would be working with the incubation team, which I'm part of, and we would be building a collaboration thesis that involves creating new business models, improving the product market fit, and then creating a pilot that would eventually turn into a new business. So
yeah. And one thing I wanted to add, and Ali, I know you can speak to this further as well, is this is truly open to multiple levels of company development. So whether you're pre-seed or seed or series A or B, we invite you to come and approach us for this challenge. We invite you to apply. And Ali, now I know that those are different kinds of levels of companies. How are we going to be managing that?
Yeah, so there is no one size fits all. Depending on the stage of the company, the incubation team would be working with you on building a collaboration thesis, on creating an engagement framework. So for a pre-seed company, the engagement with LG might be different from that from a corporate or from a an incubation team coming and joining us as well. So don't worry too much about the stage your company is in. What we're really looking for is new businesses, new ideas, new solutions, and depending on your level, we can work with you to make sure that we create a collaboration thesis that meets your needs and also LG's needs.
Wonderful. Jonathan, do you mind moving to the next slide?
Sure.
So one of the things we absolutely want you to know is that there is more to LG than meets the eye. You may be very aware of our presence in the home appliances and air solutions, also home entertainment, but you may not know that vehicle component solutions, we actually provide like 80% of car components to several partners, key partners, very large American companies. And also we provide a number of different kinds of business solutions. We're very heavily involved in solar energy. We're very heavily involved in a number of different industries. And so when we're thinking about this theme of catalyzing innovation for a better life, when you're thinking about what kind of things you might be able to bring to the mix, and we're going to get into detail about some of the general categories, we want you to think broadly, because we are a much broader company and we're also very involved in a number of different aspects, not only from a technology, hardware, software perspective, but also from a looking at how do we have, again, that impact on the world? How do we affect sustainability? These are themes that are driving our business. We do have, for example, you're going to see somewhere on the website, we do have a sustainability goal of 2030 net zero carbon imprint for the entire corporation for LG Electronics. That's a big goal. We need your help achieving that. So we are inviting you to think broadly about this. Ali, any further thoughts about this?
No, I just want to emphasize the fact that the slide that you see currently is where LG is today. So we have those different business units: home appliances, entertainment, vehicle components, business solutions. The whole idea with the challenge is to expand those business units, those solutions and services. So we want to make sure that you understand that we're not limited to what you see on the screen. The whole idea is to come up with ideas that are outside of your typical LG environment and propose new solutions that could expand LG's capabilities and also create new services for the startup as well. So
yeah, so glad you mentioned that. So important. Next slide, please.
Okay, let me chime in here. So the overarching theme for the challenge is home, work, and life. And this is pretty much what we're trying to do is improving the experience for those three environments, and starting with the home. So as we know, the definition of the home has been evolving since the pandemic started. Home has been a central part of our lives. And when it comes to creating new businesses and services and solutions, we're looking for startups to come in and propose new collaboration opportunities with LG. So the challenge itself is, how can we make the home better fit our complete lives? And we added a couple of examples to help you frame your proposal, anywhere from enabling new telehealth, wellness applications, setting up online education in the home environment, creating new experiences, improving smart products and services for the home, access to next level digital environments. So I just want to add also that these are just examples. Don't feel like you have to limit yourselves to those. These are just for you to help frame your proposal, but we're open to receiving any application that could improve the experience from the home environment.
Yeah, and I'll add that clearly, with coming through what we've been through together in this pandemic globally, our lives have completely transformed, and what we do in the home and how we want to experience in the home and what we're thinking about the home, as well as work and life, which you'll see in a moment, has really transformed. So we want to be in that transformation and also lead it into the future. So we're inviting you to bring your ideas that fit that.
Great.
And next slide, please.
Next slide. Okay, so we talked about home. Again, going back to the overarching theme, home, work, life. So when it comes to work here, as we know, because of the pandemic for the last 2 years, the definition of the workplace has been evolving and is still evolving. So the challenge here is how can we help meet the needs of the changing concept of work? And just like the previous slide, we added a few examples to help frame the proposals. So we're welcome to receiving ideas and solutions involving green energy, EV infrastructure, improving the energy efficiency, access to sustainable transportation, again, improving the telehealth at work, fitness at work as well. So anything related to improving that experience is considered a good opportunity. And don't feel like you have to come up with a perfect proposal. We would be working with you if your idea makes sense and that there is an opportunity to build a collaboration thesis around it. The incubation team would be spending some time with you, enhancing the business model, creating the product market fit, and creating a framework for a pilot. So this is an outside-in innovation or process. And we don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. The idea is that we will be collaborating together to find the solution that makes sense to create the new business opportunities to go to market by leveraging LG's capabilities and our broader network, because we have a pretty strong network involving investors, VCs, advisors. We have distribution channels. So we will be really customizing an opportunity to collaborate with you and taking this to market through a pilot first and then to an actual deployment.
Wonderful. Great. Next slide, please.
Yeah. And the last environment is life. So life here is really anything related to outside of the home and the work environments. So this is a very broad theme, and we built it this way so that you can really think outside the box here. And the challenge that we framed for you is how can we make these everyday life tasks more accessible and easier? And just like the previous slides, we have some examples. So building more sustainable workplaces, EV charging infrastructure, energy efficiency, creating walkways to make work more accessible to all people, improving home offices and work devices. So this is really an opportunity to think very broadly to create new solutions that improve the life experience as a whole. And when it comes to the actual collaboration process, we would be leveraging a venture studio model, so collaborating with you as a company and finding a way to create a new business that involves your resources, LG's resources, and eventually even the broader ecosystem.
Yeah, I'll add that one of the things that you may be noticing is that a lot of this is dealing with interconnection between work and home. And so we're not seeing these as silos. These are all blended together, right? Our life is blended right now, whether it's real or virtual, whether it's whatever kind of the physical space is, it's all blended. So please think about, use that approach as well. We think that's very important.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's also, please go ahead, Ali, go ahead.
No, I just want to emphasize what you said. So don't think of those different environments as separate buckets. You could come up with a solution that involves improving our lifestyles as individuals, and at the same time, the same solution could improve our workspace, right? So this is really an opportunity to be as creative as possible, and as long as there is a business model or a path to product market fit. Even if the solution is not 100% there, we're here to really support it and to build this collaboration thesis together. So you'll be spending some time with the incubation team, with Limor's team as well, and we will be refining that concept until we get to the point where we could deploy a pilot together.
Yeah, and I will add that it's we don't think about technologies as just about the technology. We think about it also from an infrastructure perspective, from a transactional perspective. So again, as you think about what you're going to be offering, whether it's a product or a service, whether it's hardware or software or a combination thereof, that we're approaching it very much from a holistic perspective. And so we think about it from the moment that from every moment that the customer, whether it's B2B or B2C, okay, is going to touch it, that entire process, where do you fit? And if it's across multiple touch points, fantastic. So again, we are not a single focus. It's very much a holistic, broader, interconnected kind of perspective that we're bringing and that we're expecting from you as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you both, Ali and Limor. So now I'll take back over and tell you all a bit more details about the challenge. First off, the slide that you see on your screen right now is the timeline for the challenge. As you can see, we just recently launched this challenge last week, as a matter of fact, on the 1st. Today is July 6th. That's the informational webinar that you see on bullet point number 2. The really big next point that I want to make here is the challenge submission deadline. You have just a bit over 2 weeks to put together your response. You need to get your submission in by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on July 21st. Please make sure that you get your submission in prior to that time, because we won't be able to accept late submissions. Then towards the end of the month, notification will go out to those respondents that have been selected for the pitch event. And then in early August, the pitch event will be held. There will be one-on-one pitches from the finalists for that. And then in mid-August, we're aiming to announce the winners of that pitch event. And at that pitch event, when those winners are announced, the awards will be, the prizes will be awarded as well. Speaking of prizes, you all are probably interested in what those prizes are. Up to 15 respondents will be invited to pitch one-on-one to LG. The winners of that pitch event will each receive $10,000 US in prize money, up to $100,000 for joint development activities, the opportunity to feature their marketing video on an LG website, and ongoing mentorship with the LG NOVA incubator team. Pitch winners will also be invited for LG's upcoming Grand Challenge program in the fall. And with that invitation comes the potential for further opportunities for you, including possibly a demonstration of your technology. Furthermore, those finalists may also get to meet with other interested groups, such as representatives from within LG's various business units, or venture capital groups, either inside or external to LG. So in other words, there's a lot of really great motivation for you here to respond.
Once we have that proof of concept, the whole idea is to see how we can scale it, right? So there is a collaboration approach, all the way down to the go-to-market strategy. So we start with 100K for a potential pilot, joint development activity. If that pilot or proof of concept is successful, LG and the incubation team and the strategy team would be working with you to improve and expand that pilot into an actual commercial deployment. So, and at that stage, that collaboration could look like a JV, a joint venture, for instance. It could be a minority investment. It could also be a commercial agreement. LG has very strong distributions and sales channels, so there is an opportunity to tap into that as well. So we're here all along the process, and the whole idea is to see how we can create ultimately a new business or a new service together. So there is a long-term approach, but at the same time a short-term opportunity with the pilot and with immediate capital to support this pilot.
Yeah, and I love what you just said, Ali, and I think it's really important that we're here to grow business with you. That's really the key element, and figuring out what's the best path together forward. So I'm so glad you emphasized that, Ali.
Yeah.
Thank you both for chiming in with that. That's some really good information for our attendees. Thank you very much for sharing that. And speaking of our attendees, before I move on to our next slide, I've gotten some questions coming in. We'll address those in just a little bit. I just want to say that this is an excellent opportunity for you to post your questions to the LG team, to the Tech Connect Ventures team about this challenge. If you have questions about the challenge, questions about participation or anything like that, please avail yourself of this opportunity. As I said at the outset, all of the questions that are asked during today's webinar will be included in the Q&A document. If, on the other hand, you don't think of a question during the webinar, don't worry. We will get to a slide in just a little bit about how you can get information outside of the webinar. With that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. And the next slide is exactly where I was just teasing. First off, if you're interested in the challenge, you're going to want to go to that website right there. It's LG NOVA Proto Challenge.techconnectventures.com. Go there, bookmark the site, and start reviewing the information that's there. You can also take a look at the response form. That will set you up really well for beginning your work on your application. Now, as I said just a little bit ago, if you do need help outside of the webinar, we're not going to leave you hanging. If you need help outside of the webinar, there's two ways you can reach out to us. First off, if you're on the challenge page, on the sidebar, there is a contact form. You can use that contact form to let us know that you're interested in this particular challenge. If your question pertains to one of the categories, whether that's homework or life, please let us know in your question. That'll help us frame our answer to you a little bit better and get you the information that you're looking for. If, on the other hand, you aren't on the challenge website and you just want to drop us an email, we can work that way too. The email address is challenge@techconnectventures.com. Again, please let us know which category your question pertains to, and we'll get you the information that you're seeking. So not a fairly long slide here, but an important one nevertheless. Speaking of responses, what are you going to want to include in your response? First and foremost, all information that you include in your application has to be non-confidential in nature, whether that is in the responses to the online questions or in any attachment that you include with your submission. It has to be non-confidential information. That is for the protection of everybody involved. Nobody can be accused of misappropriating IP if none has changed hands. Next, you want to think about why you want to work with LG. You want to think about why LG would want to work with you. Talk about what the pathway for commercialization looks like for your technology. Think about building a compelling and engaging response that the team from LG is going to read and say, you know what, we want to work with this team. This is somebody that we want to work with. If you keep that in mind, you're off to a really good start. When it comes to evaluating responses and pitches, you can see the response criteria on your screen there. There have been points assigned to each of them, so alignment with the concept of improved access, mobility, usability, and connections. Think about those criteria as you are building your response. Put in information that highlights how your technology or how your approach fits within that criteria. That's going to be a good way for you to convince the team at LG that you are somebody that they should want to engage with. When it comes to your response itself, as I said previously, go to the challenge page, take a look at the online response form. You can see the online response form in its entirety so that you can review the questions being asked and help and start to formulate what information you're going to include in those responses. Keep that in mind when you're working on your response. All right, as I said, we're going to get to your questions, and it is time for that now. Another quick reminder here, submit your questions via the questions box on your screen. Any questions that get asked during the webinar will be included in a Q&A document that'll get posted to the challenge page following the webinar. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start asking questions. please feel free to continue submitting your questions. We will take our time today to go through those questions. Our first question is a question for the team from LG. How important is it that a proposed technology provides meaningful social impact? Limor, Ali?
Sure, I'll start with that. So I will say it's quite important. We look at a couple of different things. So one, yes, we are dedicated as a company to having a positive effect on social impact, sustainability, resilience, a number of different issues that are absolutely front and foremost in the minds of society as a whole today, and especially for LG. So social impact is quite important. And at the same time, I will say that the business component is also equally important. So for that, I will turn to Ali to address that. But I think we want this balance between both of those. Ali, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the key word here is balance, right? When you look at our overarching theme, work, life, and home, in order to improve those areas, right, there is always an impact component, a sustainability component, right? So inherently, social impact is a core part of what the Proto Challenge is, but at the same time, the business model behind the impact is equally important. Because you would be evaluated based on the soundness of this business model. We would be refining it with you, but there needs to be a viable path to success potentially. So I would not look at social impact as a separate or exclusive category. I think it's more of a combination of both the impact, the sustainability, and the business model.
So you both would say, and please feel free to disagree with me here, you would say that you would like to see responses that incorporate the ideas of sustainability and social impact. You'd like to see responses that include that information just kind of baked in from the get-go, yeah?
Yes, I will say that we're not going to exclude applications that are not including that, let's put it that way.
Right.
But if it is, then that's wonderful. I mean, it's absolutely an area of concern and interest for us, so we are going to be paying attention. Let's say we're going to be paying attention to that.
Okay.
Yeah, and as long as you refer to the selection criteria, that's a good guide. Even if you have a solution that's heavily focused on impact, as long as you understand the selection criteria and how the business model or the business modeling is a key part of that, you would be okay, you would be fine. So because the business model is essentially built in those selection criteria. So I would advise to review those criteria and use that as a guideline as you build your proposal.
Okay. Our next question is LG interested in working with non-US companies?
Absolutely. This is a global challenge, and we welcome companies from around the world.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and I'm definitely biased here since I have a strong French accent, but we welcome any company coming from anywhere in the world. Again, going back to the collaboration thesis, as long as we can build a collaboration thesis with your proposal, with your company, remember that LG is a global company. It's not just in the US. We have sales and distribution channels. We have networks that reach all over the world, and there is definitely an opportunity to leverage those resources.
Okay, great. We've got a couple of questions along these lines already, so we'll just kind of lump them all together. Does my proposed technology have to fit within LG's existing business units?
Yeah,
Ali, why don't you go for it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Remember, one of the first slides that Jonathan showed was LG's current capabilities, and remember that what we're trying to do is expand those capabilities, and for us to expand those business units, we need to think outside of those current business units. So your solution definitely does not need to tap into those existing business units or capabilities. The whole idea of the challenge, both the Proto Challenge and the Grand Challenge, is to go beyond what LG is currently doing and what LG is currently working, and create new pathways and new businesses with your proposal. So definitely think outside the box, and don't feel like you have to limit yourselves to what LG is currently doing.
Okay. All right. Sticking with the team from LG, is LG still pursuing innovations in the cell phone industry, mobile technology?
So
Well,
let me go first.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So yeah, so LG did exit the cell manufacturing business, but think about the services that involve mobile technology. So we're still interested in 5G network infrastructure, which is a key component of telehealth, for instance, right? To improve telehealth, you need good connectivity, and connectivity itself is one of the key themes of the challenge. So even though we exited the phone business, we're still very much and heavily involved with services that involve broadband, 5G networks, and so forth.
And I'll add that we're also continuing to work with the carriers in a number of different ways. So we are absolutely very connected to connectivity, to that next generation of infrastructure and what it will enable, and the different kinds of hardware and software applications that can really take advantage of that. So by all means, please, we are very much in the game and working on products and services to develop that. So we welcome your ideas around those areas.
Okay. Next couple of questions are actually for me, so I'll give the team from LG a moment to catch their breath and maybe take a drink. What form is anticipated for entries? I'm assuming here that the question is regarding the response form. As I said previously, from the challenge page, LG NOVA Proto challenge.techconnectventures.com. Is the challenge URL. From that page, if you click on the submit button, it's located in a couple of different places. You'll also see it across the top menu bar. You can access the entire response form. That is the response form that you will need to use if you're interested in participating in this challenge, and we certainly hope that you are. The form itself consists of some contact information, because obviously you would like us to get in touch with you if you're selected for the pitch event. Next, there are some checkbox questions that'll help categorize where your technology fits. And then there are open text questions that will allow you to talk about and craft a compelling narrative about your company, your technology, and why you want to work with LG. That is the form itself. Like I said, you can see all of the questions that we're asking of you. In addition, you have the opportunity to upload a supporting document if you wish. It's not required, it is purely optional. That is the form that you're going to need to use if you're interested in participating. And make sure that you submit that prior to that submission deadline. The next one really isn't a question itself, it's more about teams. And whether or not there's teams that are interested in participating. TechConnect Ventures is not able to help you set up a team, but you are definitely encouraged to build a team that you feel presents a compelling argument for why LG should want to work with your team. You are definitely welcome to create your team. One of the questions in the response form asks you to talk about the members of your team and the roles that they play within your team. So you are definitely most 100% welcome to create a team if you don't already have one in mind. All right, we've had a couple of questions.
Jonathan,
yes,
I'm sorry,
please.
I think
Yeah,
Ali and I have some thoughts about the team as well. So Ali,
sure,
do you want to add your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I just want to add that once you reach the stage of the collaboration thesis with LG, there will be an opportunity to expand your team as well, as entrepreneurs in residence and advisors from LG's network would potentially join your team as well to create that new business together. So even though you start with a team, the whole idea of the collaboration is that we would be able, and you would have an opportunity to expand that team depending on the needs. If you need an advisor or an SME in a specific sector or field, we would look into our network to make sure that we can onboard such an advisor on top of what LG has to offer from a sales and distribution and JV partnership. So you would be working very closely with folks like me, with my colleagues, entrepreneurs in residence, potentially with technologists, and we would be building this collaboration thesis together and then go to market together.
And I will add as well, thank you, Ali. And also, even from the review process of what we're looking at application today, we're wanting to know that you understand your business. So we want to understand, who do you have in your team? Why do you have them on your team? Who are on, even if you have advisors and they're not a formal advisory board, that's fine. But who do you have as advisors? What expertise are they bringing? What is the secret sauce that makes your company, as a result, you are going to succeed? No question about it. And it's really the team that drives this. So this is actually quite an important component, and we really appreciate the fact that you've asked this question. So we want to, this is a reflection of who you are, but also how you're thinking about your business, your understanding of the business, understanding of the marketplace, understanding of your resources and your needs of resources. So even if you say, hey, listen, I know that we need on this team X, Y, and Z kind of companies and expertise, great, call it out, because then we know that you're thinking about your business in a particular way. So we appreciate you reflecting that accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Our next question is actually, I think, a question that will be answered by all of us. I think it's a two-component question. The question is, how are IP issues being handled? First off, when it comes to the actual response that you submit for this challenge, as I said, it has to be non-confidential information. Anything that you put in there has to be non-confidential, non-proprietary information. Like I said, nobody can misuse your IP if you haven't given away any IP. When it comes to later stages of the challenge, and Ali, Limor, please feel free to correct me here, but I'm assuming that LG is going to approach it on a case-by-case basis, depending on what the nature of that relationship is going to look like and depending on where that individual company is in their development process.
Yeah, I totally agree. I keep referring back to that collaboration thesis stage, which is prior to building the pilot, right? So within that thesis, we would be defining all the different areas of the new business or the new collaboration, from an IP perspective, from a business model, product market fit, and so forth. So there will be an opportunity to create new IP, for instance, with LG. And at that stage, the collaboration thesis would involve all the different layers pertaining to the ownership of that IP. So it's going to be on a case-per-case basis. And that's so even if the startup joins the challenge with a specific IP in mind, by the end of the pilot, we would be potentially creating a new IP, and we would be defining the scope of that IP together.
Okay, great. So not only is it to be determined, it's to be determined and dynamically as well.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Limor, did you have anything that you wanted to add there? Or?
No, you both covered it. It's perfect.
All right, fantastic. Our next question, will you consider technologies that will require regulatory oversight, such as by the FDA?
Great question. I would say let's not stop anything from coming forward, and please do apply. We would take that into consideration, and then we just take it into consideration as part of the product path or the service path, whatever that is, and determining then what is the best way to move forward and what are the best ways to test the marketplace and etc. So I would say absolutely, let's have a conversation, let's take a look, and we'll figure it out if there is in fact the right fit there and the right way and path forward for collaboration.
Yeah.
Ali, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. You know, this is a case per case collaboration opportunity. So if there is a way for us to build a collaboration framework that involves going beyond this particular hurdle, we would work with you on that as well. So my suggestion would be to make the proposal, and if it makes sense, if it passes the selection criteria, we would definitely engage with you.
Okay. The next question we've got here is actually one for me. Is there a length requirement or expectation for the individual text boxes? Great question. Expectation on content. Not really. It's to your advantage to put in as much good, compelling, engaging information as you can. And if you do that in 10 words and it's really compelling 10 words, fantastic. If it takes you, 150 words to be really compelling, then that's what it takes. There is a cap on the individual text boxes themselves. That is so that the respondents to this challenge aren't really putting in novels for everyone to read, for the judging panel to read. So we're not expecting you to enter War and Peace into the text boxes. I believe the cap is 250 words per text box. Generous enough for allowing a respondent to talk about their information as it relates to that particular question without being so onerous that it takes you forever to actually respond to it. I hope that answers your question.
If I may add a component to that. So I think, one of the reasons we put a word cap on that is not only because War and Peace is awesome, but we don't need to read like hopefully 100 of those in a couple of weeks. What I think is important is that the message that you're delivering to us is succinct and direct. And again, it shows a clarity of understanding of what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, how you're going to make it happen, how you're going to bring it to market. So we ask very specific questions, which every business, frankly, should be ready to answer. And you are ready to answer, I'm sure of that, if you're considering applying for this. And so it's just about articulating it very clearly, and know that as you, if you make it through the first round, you are going to be asked to pitch. And when you're pitching, you're going to have 5 minutes to pitch, and then another 15 minutes of Q&A. A 5-minute pitch is not a lot of time. So your message has got to be crystal clear in your own mind. So we're starting off with the application, and then we're going to take you to the pitch if you're selected to go that far. And then we're going to be listening very closely for you. So we're listening for clarity of intent and understanding of what you're doing.
Yeah, and if you could also make sure that, remember that this is still a competition, even though we're open to working with any startup that has a sound proposal. You're still competing against other potential proposals and other startups. So you have to make sure that your message is as concise and articulate as possible, so that you can basically stand out as quickly as possible. So keep that in mind.
Okay, great. We're coming up on the end of our time here, so we'll have just a couple more questions. Ali, I think this one is going to go straight to you. What solution are you looking for regarding EV charging?
So that's a good question. I would maybe, I don't want to put any boundaries to it, but if you bring up a solution that involves improving the experience around EV charging infrastructure, for instance, it could be improving the payment solution for EV chargers, right? Or creating a new advertising solution that leverage the EV charging network that's out there, right? So from payment, we're already talking about fintech, and advertising is ad tech, digital media. So even though this is still EV charging infrastructure, you can see how different sectors and categories could still fit within this bucket, right? So if you have a great solution service that could improve the overall experience, beyond just creating a new IP, we're definitely interested in hearing about it and building a thesis together, and then a pilot, and eventually going to market together.
Okay, great. Right, a couple of questions along this line as well. Can a university lab doing applied research in these areas apply? My sense is that that probably would be potentially of interest, more likely on a case-by-case basis. Does that sound about right to you two?
Yeah, so going back to that case-by-case basis, I think that's the key thing here. So we're looking for startups, but we're also looking for corporates, for incubation teams within a corporate, for university and labs. This is definitely as open as possible, and this is an outside-in opportunity. So going back to the selection criteria, just work within those selection criteria to frame and refine your proposal. That's really what matters. It's not really the type of company you are, whether you're a lab from a university or an early stage startup or a corporate, right? We will be customizing that collaboration framework together, and we'll be figuring out a way to go to market together as well.
Okay, great. Just the last little bit that we've got here. Is there a specific stage of development that LG is requesting? So does it have to be at least prototyped, or is something that's just a concept of interest?
Ali, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so we're not limiting ourselves to the prototype. What really matters is the proposal, right? There needs to be a prototype or at least a start to the proposal. So it cannot be just a pure idea, because the startup would be entering with some sort of capabilities, right? If it's a digital media startup that comes in, they have some expertise in digital media, right? So they are coming in definitely with something into the challenge. And we would be refining this prototype or this solution or this concept together as well. So it's definitely not just the startup or the applicant doesn't need to figure it all by themselves. We're here to work with them and build a new business together, a new solution, a new service.
Okay. All right. I think we've got time for just 2 more questions. Please bear in mind, as I said previously, go ahead and continue submitting your questions for the duration of the webinar. Even though we're only going to tackle 2 more questions today, any questions that get submitted via the question box during today's webinar will be included in the Q&A document that'll be posted to the challenge page just as soon as possible. So for our next question, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, is there a project budget or timeline that needs to be respected when proposing a project? My sense, Ali, Limor, is that it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, depending on where that particular company is in their development cycle, what kind of work they need to do to commercialize their technology, and so forth. Does that sound about right?
I would say that sounds exactly accurate. Very much, again, we're looking for you to explain to us, all right, here's the budget that we're thinking of. Here's why we're saying this. This is what we're planning on doing with it. This is the reasoning behind it. It's all about understanding how you're thinking about your business. And then, as Ali has said, and I'm sure he's going to iterate again, then we will work it with you. We'll massage it with you. We'll work with you to understand, okay, great. Now, this is how we could work together. Let's discuss this. Let's figure this out, and then we'll discover exactly what will that budget be and what exactly needs to be, what are we going to be doing together? And then we figure out the budget, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, we want to hear from you to understand how you're thinking about the business and also our business together. How you're proposing we will work together with LG, that you will work with LG, how we'll work together. And as a result, okay, so this is what we can build together. This is what we're proposing. And yeah, maybe this is the budget that we would need to put forward for resources. This is what we're anticipating now. LG, what do you think? Can we have a conversation about this? That's at least what I'm thinking about this. Ali, what would you say?
No, you're spot on. This is exactly how the incubation team would be working with the startups. Remember that after the finalists are selected, there is that stage that we call internally the collaboration thesis, and that's where everything is defined. So we look at the proposed solution and the viable go-to-market strategy and what we need in terms of resources, capital to get there, right? So we start with a pilot, obviously, but beyond the pilot, we're also looking at the considerations for scale up. And what kind of resources, what kind of capital is needed to get to that stage. So it's on a case-per-case basis. We will be customizing this thesis together and defining the level of resources we need for that particular proposal.
Okay, fantastic. All right, our final question today. Submitter says there's been mention of a grand challenge. What is it, and when will it be taking place, and can we apply for both?
Thank you so much for that question. So this is the Proto Challenge, the LG NOVA Proto Challenge right now is sort of our first step in the path. So we invite you to participate right now, because what this is going to allow is for you to get engaged with Ali and the rest of the incubation team and LG immediately. The Grand Challenge is going to take place in the fall. It's going to, and we're continuing to refine it and build that and put that together. So keep an eye out for that. But right here, right now, if you apply, and in fact, you are one of the 10 finalists or so, then you are going to, first of all, get certain kinds of funding support, as you heard earlier, but also you're going to be fast-tracked and be invited to join that Grand Challenge group of finalists. So there's a lot of advantage to participating right now, because you're going to be walking in right now and immediately starting to work with the LG Incubation NOVA team. So this is just the first step towards it, but also whatever you do now, you're going to be part of the future. And also, if for some reason you don't make it through this first selection, a round of selection with LG NOVA Proto Challenge, then you are absolutely invited to participate and apply again for the Grand Challenge and try again. And meanwhile, you'll probably have gotten some feeling, you'll have some learning from it. It'll put your application in an even better place. So we absolutely invite you to apply now. Okay. Ali, any further thoughts that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you covered it all. I would emphasize the fact that if you don't get selected, you still have an opportunity to reapply in the fall. Or to apply in the fall for the Grand Challenge. So definitely take the learning from the Proto Challenge and refine your proposal and try again. And for those finalists, even if we don't have a successful pilot together, you would still become part of the LG family, right? So we're building new engagement ways, engagement frameworks, collaboration models. Even for those companies that don't necessarily end up with a successful pilot, right? There's going to be an opportunity for us to refer you to additional advisors, potential investors, and so forth. So this is a unique opportunity for startups to really join us and to help us shape the future of that home work life balance. And we would be increasing the perks and adding more services, more opportunities for collaboration throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And so why wait? Join us.
Exactly.
Join us now.
Exactly. That unfortunately will be the last question that we get to today. To our audience, thank you very much for all of those questions that you submitted. Hopefully the information that we gave you in response was useful and informative to you. Please continue to submit any questions that you think of. I am going to start wrapping up the webinar right now. Okay, so first off, if you've got a question, go ahead and submit the questions via the Q&A chat box. If you think of a question outside of today's webinar, please go ahead and reach out to us via either the contact box on the challenge page or the email address that I referenced previously, challenge@techconnectventures.com. Let us know that it's for the LG NOVA Proto Challenge, and if there's a particular subcategory that you are interested in. We'll get you the information that you're interested in. Second, and most importantly, the submission deadline. It is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021 by 11:59 Pacific time in the US. Please make sure that you've got your response submitted prior to that deadline, because we won't be able to accept any late submissions from you. And one final reminder, keep all the information in your response non-confidential in nature. At this time, I would like to thank all of our speakers from LG, Limor, Ali. Thank you both very much for your time and for your insight in this challenge. It's been great speaking with you. To our audience members, thank you for joining us today. On behalf of all of the speakers, I sincerely hope that this webinar was informative for you. And quite frankly, we hope to see your responses just as soon as possible. Thank you all again. Have a great and wonderful day and rest of your week. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.